Welcome to the Money Mindset and Marketing Podcast with myself, Alan Miles, and today I am joined by none other than Lauren Ticknor, the CEO of Impact School, Forbes magazine #1 business coach of 2021, all the way from sunny Dubai. How are you doing today, Lauren?
I'm doing great. And yeah, my roots are definitely not from Dubai. If I go out in that sun for 10 minutes, I am red as a lobster. So yeah, I'm also from England. So it's nice to hear a British accent.
Whereabouts in the UK are you originally from?
I'm from Surrey, so just like 20 to 30 minutes away from London, because it was unfortunately very easy for me to make that decision to go in the corporate world because I live so close to London straight out of school.
Yeah.
And so in hindsight, I'm glad, because if I was living, probably a little further away, I never would have ended up going down that route so young. But yeah, sorry, born and raised, the accent doesn't quite sound like that anymore.
No.
Which is probably potentially favorable for me.
Yeah, you certainly don't sound like you're from Surrey. So I actually in Sussex myself, so just below from Surrey. So today, obviously, it's great to have you on the podcast. The audience, I'm sure, are really looking forward to digging inside of your brain and getting a real understanding of what's triggered your success and those kind of attributes that I think sometimes business owners take for granted that they have. And when you look back at your journey so far, what would you say are some of the big differences that you see in Lauren of today versus Lauren who was starting out in her own business after that corporate world?
I was just so nervous and so shy, and I was so intimidated by everyone. That was for me one of the things that held me back the most, because growing up I was overweight in school, and so the boys called me Mackie D's. Like literally when I started at this new school, I went to a party and I was 12, 13, and all the boys were in one corner, and I walked in and they were just like Mackie D's chanting. There was like 20 or 30 of them. Can you imagine? And I'm about to start a new school where they're all at. And so I was always really insecure. I think one thing for me now is I do still always, every decision that I want to make, I have to run it by someone from my team, because I think I just kind of need some type of sense of approval and validation. And I think that's pretty common in business owners. Honestly, I see this a lot. And the thing that I'm fortunate of and grateful for is that I'm aware of it and I know. And so I can call myself out on it. Like yesterday, I was on a call with Nor from my team. She's my COO. And we were just I just said to her, look, I think that we need to pause on this one thing so that we can focus on this one thing here and double down on that and do it until it is done and operating fully without us even needing to like question whether something's been done or not. And I said to her, I was like, am I playing small here? Am I failing to take a risk when usually I'm the one that is willing to take those risks? And so she said to me, no, I think you're being smart. And I think if I hadn't had her tell me that, then I would have always been questioning it. And so this is something that I'm still consciously aware of right now, but I use it to my favor, and I go to the people who I know are going to give me a good decision and not something just like a yes man. Because I think the most dangerous people to have around you is yes men. And as you build a bigger and bigger business or audience or something, there are more yes people around you because they want to get into your inner circle. But I want people around me that are going to rip me to shreds and tell me, no, Lauren, this is like the most stupid thing ever. But one thing as well that I wanted to just say, it just came to my mind as you were saying, get into your brain. Imagine how interesting it would be to do like a brain scan of loads of really entrepreneurial people and to see what common things there are that are different to people who continue to stay in a typical systematized life. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. I love it when people have random thoughts of complete weirdness.
That is me.
It's something that it would be a really interesting thing to see kind of what happens to that entrepreneurial brain and is there patterns. I'm a big believer in processes, patterns of behavior, and general patterns in life. So seeing those patterns, and that it led me to the next question that I was, as you were talking and you mentioned about that a particular project you were working on. Do you ever feel that sometimes the thing that separates the super successful business owner, so let's say the Grant Cardones of the world, those types of people who are that next level above and beyond, and they seem to have the ability to take infinite level of risk and really lean into it. Do you think people suffer with, I don't know what you call it, like risk fatigue? You get to that place where you're almost a little bit too afraid to carry on leaning into the unknown because you just want some certainty all of a sudden. Do you think that's an issue for business owners sometimes?
Oof. I think the bigger issue for business owners is that they jump from thing to thing to thing without ever following one thing through fully. That's really hard to say, tongue twister. But like I did this myself. I screwed up royally through having a really bloody good fitness coaching business and then getting lured into the world of e-com and drop shipping and trading and starting an agency and doing this and that. And eventually I ended up going back to my high ticket coaching because all the other stuff wasn't in alignment to my values. And it wasn't necessarily something that I myself, based upon my unique experience, my unique skill set, my unique drive, passions, blah, 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 they aren't things that necessarily all fused together allowed me to succeed in that thing, right? And so I think that's another important thing. I love this Japanese concept of that finding your ikigai, which is whereby what the world wants, what you're passionate about. There's two other components, can't remember it off the top of my head, but basically it's the intersection of these different things, which when you stay in that lane, you're able to create infinite abundance. And so chasing different things, whether it's for financial means or whether it's for recognition or validation, I think that's probably more dangerous. To answer your question, really, I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure whether people get risk fatigue, because I think actually the more risky thing could potentially be the dopamine hits of taking risk. And that's for me definitely been something like I live for it, and I love it. And that's where I need to be held accountable by my team, by advisors and mentors that I have around me, because I will do crazy things, which are really good ideas, but not necessarily the best thing for right now. And so we have this framework that we use at Impact School with our team, which is the VILE framework. It stands for vital, important, luxury, or eliminate. And so if I have a crazy idea and I bring it to my team, the leadership team, and then we'll discuss it, and then they'll say, okay, but Lauren, these things are vital right now. We need to get these things going and churning and systematized and automated through team and through people. We need to do that first. But then let's put this in the calendar for in 3 months' time. Let's revisit the discussion then. And then maybe we can move it from luxury into either important or vital. It's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs for your business.
Yeah.
And since we started doing this, it's empowered us to prioritize way better. So risk fatigue, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if I've been in the game for long enough to be able to answer that. Because, I think I still got the energy to keep going for a while.
Yeah, it's that I like that principle. So what does it stand for again?
Vital, important, luxury, and eliminate.
Eliminate.
But you could use so there's one guy on my team, he says expedient. I mean, this is basically to define all Lauren's crazy ideas. That's what he says. All of Lauren's crazy ideas that we can just put on pause for now. I just say eliminate, because I see things that people are doing on my team. Like when I kind of look at everything on like a monthly or a quarterly basis, and I'm just like, why on earth are we doing this? Like making this Pinterest board thing when we aren't even consistently posting on TikTok every day. Come on, guys. Let's weight things with order of importance, and then we can make sure that we're actually reaching the right people and getting the right stuff done that's going to move the needle.
Interesting. So obviously you've grown business-wise from it being just yourself, or maybe yourself and a couple other people, to all of a sudden you now have a team of over 20. Is that right?
Yeah. So right now we're 27. We have been actually stripping back our team because we got pretty fat and it was just unnecessary. And again, like we were doing all these like nice to have luxury things when the vital and the important weren't necessarily being met. And so I have various KPIs for different team members and different departments of the team. And so, for example, I want to get 1.8 referrals per client that we have, but we were hiring like this crazy software development stack team to build all this fancy software for our clients, but we weren't even getting 1.8 referrals per client. We were on 1.2. And so I said to them, we need to eliminate this, focus on that, and then we can revisit that in the future. So yeah, it was, sometimes I forget, honestly, because like the direct reports that I speak to and that come to our like huddle calls, there's never more than 7 people there.
Right.
But it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. But I mean, I love it. They're like my family, right? And we're all going towards the same vision, same goal. And personally, for me, I prefer a lot more having a team around me, because you can go further, you can go faster, you have people to discuss ideas with. And then when I was by myself for many, many years, or it would just be me and like a video editor and maybe a couple part-time people that I hired for small projects or something, I always felt so alone. And that's where I identified I wasn't able to go fast, because it's that whole saying of, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I don't believe that.
It's an interesting thing though, isn't it? Because you do, I speak to a lot of people, I'm sure you do too, that working on your own, it sounds like the dream when you first do it. Like, I'm going to open my own business, I'm going to work from home, it's going to be amazing, I can do stuff in my pajamas. And then all of a sudden you're like, this is incredibly lonely. You find yourself talking to your pet dog or cat. You're like, how are you today? Just to have that conversation. But it's that thing of, like, from your perspective, if somebody is in a place, they're starting to have some level of success, there's maybe still a little bit of inconsistency there, but they want to start growing a team. They're in the high ticket coaching world, or maybe even mid ticket coaching. What would you say would be one of the first 2 or 3 hires that somebody should consider more than any other?
Yeah, I mean, so often business owners solve for the wrong problem. And so I hear this a lot with our clients. Like, they'll say, oh my gosh, in fact, here's a great example. I was on a coaching call a couple of days ago. I do group coaching with some of my like higher level clients. And one of the guys, he's got another business, but he's just started a new coaching program and he's treating them very separately. He's got business partners on this other business, super successful, multiple 7 figures, but wants his own coaching. He's got 3 clients right now. Okay. And 2 kind of like half clients who are paying him a lower price. And he was saying, oh, Lauren, I'm just really worried about the culture at my coaching business. I'm really worried, like, the clients aren't engaging. I just want to build a great culture. And so I was asking him a couple questions, and then turns out that right now his issue is that he doesn't have enough cash flow. Because if he had enough cash flow, then he'd be able to hire some more coaches to actually serve the clients. And so he was trying to solve for a problem that he doesn't yet have. Because, like, at the end of the day, if you only have 3 to 5 clients, I mean, you can just work with them one-on-one. You don't even need a culture between them right now. You just need to serve them to the level where you get them to the outcome so bloody well that you become known in your industry. And so, to your point regarding hiring people, I have this great client at the moment. Her name's Marianne, and she literally went from 0 in her coaching business to $67,000 in 21 days. Wow. She didn't even do a public launch, nothing, because this is another one of those things that you probably see a lot, where, like, you know, people are doing these crazy launches and then they don't make any money for months. I don't want that for people. I want them to have a sustainable income. And so, anyways, Marianne is like at this point right now where she doesn't know what to do, because she's currently serving all these clients, but she still has more inbound leads coming to her. And so I said to her, okay, well, this is actually we have master coaches that work with clients that get like fast results like these. So AC is her coach. And he basically said to her, he was like, well, let's do a time audit and let's buy back your time. So we look at where she's spending all her time, and then we essentially need to start buying those hours back. So a lot of her time was going on serving the existing clients. And that was essentially, pardon my French, but that was cock blocking her making more money. And so she needed to remove that cock block, right? And so essentially sorry, I know it's a bit crude, but we had to help her hire someone to serve those existing clients. As well as that, she's doing all this like operational stuff. And so she's literally one-man band. She also has a kid that's 1. She's 25 years old. This girl is incredible. But like, she has to hire an operations manager too, because then the operations manager is going to be able to keep the coach accountable, which frees up Marianne to then go and start selling more, because she's bloody good at selling, right? And so essentially, my favorite way to figure out who to hire first is buying back your time and also removing bottlenecks, let's call them that, for bringing in cash. Because if you actually think about it, the one thing that's going to always slow you down the most is going to be if you don't have enough money consistently coming into the business. At the end of the day, yes, I believe in doing business based from a place of passion and doing what you love, But frankly, if you have enough money flowing in, you can hire people to do things to make it grow further and to solve the problems. So that's how I like to look at it.
I think that's a great little process. And shout out to, was it Mariam, the client? That's that's an incredible result in 21 days.
Marianne. And believe it or not, all of her clients are Finnish speaking.
Right.
So yeah.
Amazing. So that's interesting stuff. Okay, so let's look at this from another angle, because I think you do some bits in crypto and things like that now, don't you, as well? So you've branched out. And let's say we've got a coach. They've got some of these key components in place. They've got some money coming in, and they want to find a way to start like getting their money to start making some babies, because like it's great to be able to multiply money, especially in a passive way. What are your strategies around this? Like, how do you get involved in crypto? Because that's an incredibly volatile market. It seems to be going through a lot of growth at the minute and changes. How do you approach this? And then what kind of advice do you give to like high 6-figure, low 7-figure business owners around this?
I find it so funny how so many business owners are willing to invest in other people's businesses, aka stocks, but not invest in their own. So if right now you're having problems in your business where something's not scaling, I personally look to how can I deploy those funds back into my business? Who can I hire? What systems can I use? How can I pay to get more eyeballs, etc., etc.? And that's what I'm always looking to do first. And then beyond that, when it comes to investing, again, I mean, I'm not going to give any financial advice here. My personal thing that I do is I invest right now. I just invest pretty much in Ethereum. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing. I decided, again, I did the vial analysis. I was like, let's just eliminate a lot of what I was doing. Yes, I made some great money on different coins. And yes, I still put like 10, 20, 30K and like random stuff here and there. And I know that might sound like, a bit sporadic or, whatever, but, it's relative, right? So for me, that's not too much of an issue. If it goes to zero, I've had that happen a lot of times, but I'm only doing that if I've like met the founder. Like yesterday I was in the gym and one of the owners of Polygon was there, right? So Polygon is, and so like these are all the people that I am friends with here in Dubai. And so, well, actually, to be fair, I met him. He's not a friend, but a lot of my friends are owning these big, cryptos and such. But I'm more careful now, not in the sense of like being cautious, just in the sense of where I'm putting my energy. And so I've also been realizing that being a business owner is innately risky. And so that's essentially your risky active income. And so I don't necessarily want to create more risky active income for myself. So I've been looking really carefully, like, where shall I deploy my funds? And it's actually really difficult right now to know what to do, because what the hell is going to happen in 2 months' time? We don't know. Is there going to be a crazy war? I mean, is the US dollar going to collapse? We just don't know. And so this is the time where I'm actually really waiting, looking, assessing. Right now, I am holding most of my money in like a USDT or GBPX on a staking platform so that I get 12% returns and such. That's what I'm doing, because like I don't really want my money in the bank because what's going to happen there? I don't know. I don't really trust the currencies, and that's okay if you do. It's just, for me, this is personally my decision based upon a lot of research, and it's not financial advice. Just FYI.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to obviously hear how different people approach money, because obviously everyone, and like you said, none of this is financial advice. This is simply just what we do ourselves and people that we watch. And if you listen to a podcast for your financial advice, you're in trouble.
Well, entrepreneurs might be some of the worst people to listen to. Like, I think that's kind of what I've realized, because we are so much riskier. Like I in the past, I don't even know if I want to say this, but I would put a couple $100,000 into just some random coin. Like, see how it goes. Sometimes it did great, sometimes it did terrible. But like at the end of the day, if I actually look at it, where I've actually made the majority of my returns has been through Bitcoin and Ethereum, and through also some like a couple of other random ones that I kind of got fortunate on like Zill, right? But I got in that like 2017, you know? So just have to kind of, yeah, sorry. But I was going to say, like, I learn and I study from actual financial analysts. And so my decision-making process isn't quite as black and white as it used to be. I now am more so looking at like the overall macroeconomic picture first, and then I look at geopolitics, because that's making so many different, you know, that's everything right now. And then thirdly, I mean, I kind of just look at consumer behavior. And so what's going on? I mean, as well, you can stock pick as well. It's not just about crypto, but, and again, it's not financial advice, but I have also put good amounts of cash into just individual stocks, and then invest in some pre IPOs, which is also great, but not all of them are great. It just, you know, you just have, like, I think for most people, they're spending so much time on this when they don't even need to worry about it. Just invest in your business, hire a great marketing manager, like build a great sales team, and then sell more of your stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? For a lot of people, they're always trying to overcomplicate things, and I think we've all been in that situation where you're seemingly trying to overcomplicate life way before it needs to be overcomplicated. I've always been a big believer in having a methodology. If you want to do some kind of investing or whatever like that, you have a very clear methodology, so there's no emotion in that process.
Right.
Similar to your VILE process, you have that evaluation process, and then you just ultimately are taking an action every single month consistently and letting it do its thing, because your main focus, if you're a business owner, should surely be your actual business.
Sure. Yeah. And
I was going to say, I think this would be something interesting to get your take on this, because obviously building a successful business is an incredible achievement, especially being obviously listed in Forbes magazine as #1 business coach. Like that must have been obviously an incredibly proud moment. But let me paint a different picture for you for a moment, a hypothetical situation that I obviously, touch wood, never happens for you, but I would love to see how you would respond in this situation. Let's say that, I don't know, the economy goes sideways and all of a sudden Impact School, bang, vanishes overnight. Something, you make a couple of terrible decisions, you get sabotaged internally, and you have that feeling of overwhelm kick in, because you've gone from being this young millionaire to going back to zero. How would you approach that? What would you do? What would the next 30 days of your life look like?
I mean, it's pretty much happened to me before. Like, my entire podcast got hacked. I lost more than 100 episodes with people like Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, blah, blah, blah. And we lost our website at the exact same time during this hacking. All of our emails, none of my team's emails worked. A few weeks later, one of my other team members was like so stressed that she ended up going into our e-portal and just going on a rampage and just deleting all the videos that we gave our clients. Wow. So we lost hundreds more videos there. And so it's kind of happened to me, if I'm frank. I wouldn't even be worried now. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is your reputation. And so as long as you keep your reputation intact and people know that you are actually good at what you do and that you operate of a place in integrity, then that's pretty much what matters the most. So if I was starting from scratch now, I would make sure that I picked an outcome that I could take people to, that I knew I could get them to. And I would tell them, hey, look, I'm going to work with you until you get this outcome. In the future, I'm going to be charging this much for this. But right now, if you want to get started, it's just going to be this much. And I would work with them until they got to that outcome, me, myself, and just do that. And I would hustle the DMs till I close those deals, bring in some money. And then the first thing that I would do is I would hire people to take care of the fulfillment. And then the next thing that I would do is I would just keep trying to bring in as much cash as I could to then fuel the business, so that as the operations were growing, I'd be able to hire an operations manager. And then from there, I'd probably really, really focus on having that operations manager help me build my brand, so that I could, you know, get on other people's podcasts and go get my social media content out there, and just keep it really simple.
I like it. It's good. It seems like you've maybe given that a little bit of thought in the past of how you would approach it. So it's a good strategy, and I think it's something that I agree. Reputation is really important, and I know we're starting to run out of time. a couple of things I want to cover before we wrap up. First question, which comes to mind with reputation. I think that sometimes, and I know I've definitely experienced this, and I spoke to people who have experienced this, you have this really strong protection around your reputation. So it's inevitable that not every client you're going to get, this is the real world, not every client you hire or comes to hire you is going to have the number one experience and get their dream outcome, because sometimes clients are lazy. They think they can pay their way to success. Sometimes it's a bad fit, especially in the early days when you're learning. How do you handle that if somebody is to throw some mud in your direction, because obviously it risks your reputation? How do you manage that internally from a mindset perspective? Because it's tempting, surely, is that shy girl deep down inside there just to curl up in a ball and go, I don't like this, it's not nice. Like, how do you manage that if somebody does? Because surely the bigger you get now, the more that runs a risk of happening.
I once had about 10 clients create a group chat just chatting absolute garbage about me. And this was, I don't know how many years ago now. It was when I first pivoted from fitness coaching to actually helping people grow a personal brand. And so there was this one guy, and he at first loved the course and posted great testimonials. And then suddenly he was real pissed. I don't know. I guess he had to make the second payment on his payment plan. So he made a group chat with all these people, and this one rotten apple then essentially pulled everyone else down. And this was pretty traumatizing for me, honestly, because it was just me at this time. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know how to cope with it. And I also didn't have the ability to do all the refunds because I had spent pretty much all the money on further growing the business. And so I was like, I literally thought I'd lost everything. And what I do now, honestly, is, if a client has a complaint, then that complaint, honestly, it doesn't usually even get to me. My team has strict SOPs. They have frameworks to know what to do, how the refund gets processed, if a refund's required, what the client needs to submit. My head of client success came up with all these parameters, not even me. I don't want to hear about client complaints. I don't want it to mess up with my energy. However, I will take client feedback. So I took a call last week for an hour and 45 minutes with one of my clients because she rated us 4 stars and not 5. And I was not happy about that. And so I needed to know what was going on. Now, our head of client success was speaking at an event that same day, and I needed to know, like, this for me, because her income went up from on average 20 grand a month to 60 grand a month. So it was very concerning to me that she didn't feel like she could give us 5 stars. So I had to ask her what's gone wrong here. Anyways, long story short, I got on this call with her and she was just giving me the most incredible feedback, essentially saying, and this was super interesting, she was saying that all of our systems and all of our SOPs that we support with is like super high level, and it's exactly what she wanted. And she was telling me, like, the way you market yourself on social media is actually for like lower level people. And so she said my expectations weren't quite met and weren't quite set for the program that I went in. And so I just thought that was like really fascinating, because I think this actually goes to show, okay, so on the front end, when we're having a high level client come through to us to work with us, we need to set their expectations that, yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, we're going to get you hiring people, and yeah, we're going to be moving fast. And so she said, because like we actually have, like, in this high level program, unlimited one-on-one. They all get their own Slack channel. They can get on as many calls as they want with their one-to-one coach. And it's always a master coach, so one of our top 3 at Impact School. And she was saying, like, it was just too much for her, right? She just needed more time. And she needed less time talking to us and sort of like more done for you stuff. That's her feedback. And so it was just too intense for her because she didn't have the right people on her team already. So we knew that we now need to say, okay, if you're coming in this higher level program, you already need to have this, this, and this ready. If not, you have to go in that program. And so that was great feedback for me. And so I'll take feedback as long as I know that it's legit. And she's, I'm friends with this girl. Like, she's coming to Dubai in a couple of weeks and we're going to hang and, I'm going to show her around and stuff. And so I think that's also another thing is, like, sometimes, like, is the feedback genuinely feedback and not just criticism, and being open-minded to that. So in the past, I saw it as an attack. Now I see it as feedback, and it will only come to me if it really needs to, and it's something that really needs to be addressed. But fortunately, I haven't had a situation like that. I think the last time I had a situation like that was at the beginning of COVID, where we just got so many new clients that we just didn't have capacity because everyone was wanting to move online, right? And so that was a problem then. So that was on our end as well. So we apologized for that. We refunded the people that we needed to, and we moved on. Because I learned the hard way with that rotten apple boy that I told you about all those years ago, that like one person can damage your business so much that the extra couple grand that you might have made, it is not worth it. If I could go back then now, I would have, whatever he paid me, I would have paid him double to tell him, just don't ever talk to me again.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? And I think having that experience in business is one of those things that when you first start getting sales coming through, I think a lot of people will work with not anyone, but almost anyone that waves a credit card in their direction. I think it's one of the best lessons inside of business is learning that sometimes it pays you 10 times more to not accept some people's money. I'm a big believer in energy. You mentioned the word energy a minute ago. Like, law of attraction is a massive thing for me, and I trust my gut. If I'm on a call with a prospect, I don't have a good vibe, I don't have a good connection, I'm going to point them in a different direction. I'm going to wish them all the best and help them out as much as I can. I don't want that money.
yeah, well, especially because you're working with them on a really intimate level. But I was going to say, time is not the most valuable asset, because if you get on a call with someone for 2 minutes and they're just ripping you, they've got low energy, they're gonna knock your energy for the next 5 hours, 10 hours, 3 days. That's affecting more of your time. You're only on the call for 2 minutes, but they've ruined your energy for so long. Whereas you could be on a really, really amazing call with someone, or a rough call for someone for 5 minutes, or if you're on a call for 5 hours and it's really bad, but you're feeling in a good place and you're just not letting it affect you, it's not as negative as that 2-minute interaction. So this is why I'm so protective about my energy. But I was also going to say, I royally screwed up when I was a fitness coach, because I was all about helping women become stronger, both physically and mentally. And my whole thing is all about weight training. And I had this one dude come to me and he wanted to run a marathon. And his name was Steve, and he was always sending me nice messages, and he was really sweet. And so I signed him up as a client. And guess what I had to do? I just spent hours and hours and hours researching, how do I do carb loading? How do you have to taper your runs? What is this like time tracking thing that you do? Pacing. I don't even know what it is now. Anyway, so I ended up trying to figure it out for over a week. I spent hours, and I'm telling you, it probably came up to, I was making like £4 an hour or something. And then I eventually gave him his money back because I couldn't help him. You have to stay in your lane. It's just frustrating. I don't care about running. It wasn't even interesting for me. I hate running, to be honest. It's okay.
Everyone hates running. No, nobody truly enjoys running. It's a horrible thing to do.
I don't know. I actually think they do, and so fair enough. And like, you know, but yeah. So that was a big lesson for me then. But look, the only reason why I think I've been able to gain the exponential results that I have, which I don't even think are anything crazy, but a lot of people say that they are. So like, I'm trying to learn to take compliments.
Yeah.
The only reason I think is because I have messed up so many times. So many times. And I think it's the speed in which you recover from messing up that empowers you to actually grow and build something that's eventually going to be sustainable.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I have a little saying that I learned from somewhere that sticks with me a lot of the time. Fail faster and fail forward. Like, the quicker you can make your failures, the better, and always learn something from it and move forward with it, because failing is critical to success, isn't it? And I think you're a testament to that. One last question before we wrap up, and this is a staple question that we always ask, and I never prep any guest for this question. It's simply, what are your 3 favorite books or audio books that really made an impact to you when it came to developing as an entrepreneur, as a human being? What are 3 books that you would recommend to people, or podcasts if you don't read or listen to audiobooks?
Okay. Wow. So I did this one thing in COVID where I read a book a day. And so I went back through my Audible, and I actually copied and pasted all the books that I have been through since 2020. And there's hundreds, like actually hundreds, because I didn't read until then. I had never finished an entire book other than an English class at school, because I genuinely my brain is like, I can listen to things on like 3 times speed, and that's what I do, and it goes in. But when I read, it's like I'm crossing, it's like a little kid that's trying to run and it keeps falling over, you know? So I didn't even really think about audiobooks until then. So actually, the one that I think is such a classic, it's such a cliche, everyone says it, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because I started reading that when I was on a cruise when I was like 16 or 17. Now, obviously I didn't finish it, but I learned that one thing, which was always ask people about themselves, because then they're gonna remember you, and like they're gonna feel like they had the best interaction with you. And so I think that's honestly why all the way back then I started a podcast early on, my first podcast, which was called Business Meets Fitness, because I wanted to be able to make people feel special and have a great conversation through just like learning about them. So I ended up eventually rereading that book, and it's brilliant. I think for me, the books that have been truly the most profound in my life have been more like spiritual books, because I think business strategy comes to me pretty naturally. And so obviously there are so many great business books, and one that people probably haven't read is called The Toyota Way.
Okay.
That's really good. That's about leadership. But
give us one spiritual book then.
Yeah, like I like The Four Agreements. That's a good one. I like I always forget the name of this one because it's like something weird.
I always love this question because I was similar to you. I didn't read until quite recently. You know, I'm 36. I didn't really start reading since I left school. Hated reading books. Audible obviously popped around, and I started listening to it in the car when I was on the road a lot. And it was something that really created a lot of change. And I think when you're somebody who doesn't read, when you start getting into reading, especially books that create a big transformation, you remember them. And I love to not prep people on this question, because we get to really see inside you, because sometimes people can prep answers, can't they? And you get the typical books of Think and Grow Rich and blah blah blah.
I know, but I gave a classic one. Okay, the problem is, like, as humans we have such a immediacy bias, like, what's it called, a recency bias. We have such a recency bias, and so like right now, one of the ones that I would say is Outwitting the Devil. That's really, really good. And then also Reality Transurfing. That's one that I go back to often, but that one's kind of that one's pretty interesting.
Awesome, appreciate it. So thank you so much.
And this one, it's by Dan Kennedy. No BS, Ruthless Management of People and Profits. That one's good. That one's good because, like, I don't know about you, but like with my team, I'm probably way too nice and way too like friendly with them. And this one kind of reminded me, what are they there to do? Like they're doing a job, like, and so it was interesting. So that kind of gave me a bit of a kick up the arse.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Lauren. For everybody listening, if you haven't been taking notes, as I always say, go back through, listen to it again, write some notes. I've taken 2 pages of notes today. There's lots of amazing takeaways from this podcast. So I think this is something that I always love bringing guests on when we can just have an open chat. I could probably keep on going for another hour or so, but I'm conscious you've got other commitments. So I really appreciate your time. We'll put all of your links. If anyone has heard anything that Lauren said and they want to connect with Lauren or her team, I'll put all of Lauren's links in the bio. So be sure to look underneath the podcast. If you've enjoyed this, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating. Just before we wrap up, Lauren, is there anything else, any kind of lasting thoughts that you'd like to leave with anyone listening?
Yeah, they better give you 5-star, not 4-star. Otherwise, you're going to be ringing them up, No, look, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. If anyone wants to check any of my stuff out, just Lauren Ticknor on any socials, or just listen to Impact School podcast. We're back after getting hacked, so it feels good. And Alan, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Take care. And for everyone else, I will see you all next week. Take care, guys.